Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This. This podcast is a weekly motivational love letter to those who are looking for a change, are currently going through a change, and they need just a little pick-me-up. Tay is a transformation and spiritual coach and author who understands that one small habit over 1 year can create a lifetime of growth. First, we will talk about our topic, and at the end of each episode, I will do a trinity. The trinity is a brag, gratitude, and desire. If you'd like to share your wins, questions, and trinity, please call or text 330-552-7234 to be featured on the podcast. I love hearing about your success and how you are transforming. To learn more about your host, visit her Instagram page, Phoenix of Change. In 2022, I decided that I wanted to be more consistent in my business. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to grow my TikTok following. Now, at the time, I was making videos, but I didn't feel like they were reaching the audience that I was looking for. So what did I do? I needed to have a catch. So my catch was doing sock videos. And basically what that means is I got on TikTok every morning. I uploaded a video saying, hey, these are my socks for the day, my motivational speech, and then showed everyone my socks. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having over 230 plus pair of socks. And trust me, the collection is still extensive. Now, the 230 pairs grows every single day, every single week, every single month. But I can tell you that one of the places that I ended up getting socks from was Chakra Wonders. When I went on their website, not only did I see that they had socks, but I also saw that they had artwork, mugs, hats, and even some books. It is such a great place to go to, especially if you're looking for something that is going to... What I love about Chakra Wonders is that it's an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That is chakrawonders.com. Chakra Wonders is an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That's CHAKRAWONDERS.com. Hello, and welcome back to Dear Tay, You Got This. This week, we're going to take a little bit of a break from the self-care series, and that is to bring you guys different material and kind of like group some things together and, talk about some points that we've had over the last few weeks when it comes to self-care. And this week, one of the things that I wanted to do is talk about some life reset tips. And I thought that this was great, considering that we're talking about self-care. I'm telling you guys about all of the changes that I went through over the last year and a half, and basically just updating you guys on 2023 and what that actually looked like when it came down to healing. And because of that, last week when I talked about my March accomplishments and the the things that I did and how I basically came and wrecked March with all of my like friendships and relationships and things like that. How I kind of just like did a overhaul in what my life looked like. What I wanted to do is kind of give you guys some tips if you are currently at a point in your healing where you're like, yo, I'm ready to start something over. Or if you're like, I'm ready to start, but I'm not entirely sure where to start. These 5 tips that I've come up with will be able to help you out a little bit. And with each of these, I'm going to give you guys like an example and how that works and why you should or should not do these things. All right. And what I'm going to do is we're basically going to do a classic do's and don'ts list. All right. And each of these things go hand in hand with each other. And I'm super excited about this because it's healing is not something that that is like a step-by-step process. Healing is literally like peeling an onion, and it literally, you never know what you are going to get as you are peeling away each layer. You have no idea what's going to happen. And with these do's and don'ts, what I want you to understand is that everything in your life is always going to be in flux. There is nothing that is not, there's never a part of your life that's not moving forward. And you just have to be very aware of what it is that you're doing. And I feel like these tips are basically like the main points when it comes to healing. And I'm not going to say that this list is finite because it's not. I'm pretty sure that over time I will add more to this list. But as we go through, as you've just listened to all of the self-care tips from January, February, and March of 2023, I wanted to give you guys just some tips that I've learned on resetting your life. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to go ahead and start with don't overhaul your entire life at once. What you want to do is you want to choose one habit or one change at a time. All right. Now, the reason why you want to choose one habit or one change to do at a time is so that you don't get overwhelmed. The process of healing and the process of resetting is not always a pleasant one, but you can make it more pleasant by not trying to do everything all at once. All right. Now, when it comes to change, and one of the things that you're going to notice over, as I tell you guys, each of the accomplishments over the year, if you've been paying attention, is that one consistent action is going to help you change. As long as you continue to consistently do one thing, change one habit, and keep that going, you're going to see change. Now, when you are choosing one habit at a time, it is literally like juggling one thing. Like imagine a person who has 1,000,003 tabs open on their computer. And all that is doing is it is slowing down your computer. It's slowing down the way that your computer functions. And not all the time do you know which tab is which. Now, there are some people who are going to be like, no, I know which tab is which tab. Okay, that's fine. But when you get to the point where you can't see what tab is, like what's on that tab, you're going to forget. And you get overwhelmed. And then what ends up happening? You close all the damn tabs. Right? Overhauling your entire life is like taking 5 plates, throwing them up in the air, and trying to catch them all at the same time. Unless you are a professional, it's not going to work. All right. So you want to do one change or do one new habit at a time. Now, the example that I give about this is moving to another state to start over. Now, I'm not talking about for a job. All right. That's completely different. That's going to be a whole different set of changes that you have to do. But I'm talking about those people who are like, this life in Connecticut is not doing what I need it to do. I'm going to move to New Jersey. That's not really I don't think that's a far drive, but either way, we'll just say from Connecticut to New Jersey, right? One of the things that you have to understand is when you are moving to a different state to start over, to start your life over, yes, you will find new friends. You will find a new job. You will, find new activities to do, things like that. But the thing that you don't want to do is continue to run away from yourself because you don't want to deal with the things that you've created in Connecticut, right? Because you feel like you're overwhelmed too much in this place. Changing the place where you live is not going to change you. You still have to bring yourself with you. All right. Overhauling your entire life at one time is going to be so freaking overwhelming. And you have to think that you have to rebuild over and over and over again. Choose one thing, make one change. If you want to move to New Jersey, awesome. But let's figure out how we're going to not get into the same troubles or have the same stagnant energy or anything like that when we move. All right. So you want to change one habit or make one change at a time. All right. Number 2, you don't want to rush the process. Take your time and be patient. The reason why you want to take your time and be patient when it comes to resetting is because you don't want to end up making a decision that you are going to regret or that isn't right for you. Sometimes, yes, you can make a snappy decision and it be exactly what you need. But when you're resetting yourself, when you're resetting your life, you don't want to make decisions that are not going to serve you. But when you don't take your time and you're not patient, you also miss out on the lessons that you're supposed to learn. So I had a friend who still works at the other job that I worked at previously. And she was telling me about this time where she was so fed up with the work that was going on at the law office that she was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm going somewhere else. I'm not getting treated properly. I'm not getting treated fairly. I'm not getting paid enough. Whatever it was, she was unhappy with. And so what she did was she found herself a new job, and then she left. And she said, within 3 days of leaving, I was back. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, I wanted to get out of this place so bad that I went to a law firm where the attorney did nothing but yell at their paralegals the entire time. Nothing they did was right. Everything was in shambles. It was a mess. And she was like, and for one day I dealt with this. And she was like, and then I came right back. And they offered her more money and whatever else it was that she needed at that time to really make her feel like, yes, I want to be here. But because she made a snappy decision, because she was so in a rush to change her work environment, she ended up somewhere where she wasn't supposed to be. And that is the same thing that can happen. So take your time. Be patient. All right. Life is a journey. It really is not a sprint. Like where I don't know where people are running off to. But honestly, like in real life, during every day, during the day, I am literally taking my time with everything. And the reason is because rushing there isn't going to get it done faster. And it's the same thing with healing. It's the same thing with resetting your life. It's not going to get you there faster, but it's just like building a house. You have to build a sturdy foundation first, and then you can build the house on top of it so that it can last you for many years. If you quickly go through a life reset and you're like, okay, I'm changing this, I'm changing this, I'm changing this without actually sitting with these things and watching them change and making sure that you have them unlocking and have them locked down, then it's going to fall apart. The plan is going to fall apart. So take your time. Be patient. Number 3, don't isolate the people who care about you and who are giving you the support that you need in your life. What I want you to do is I want you to invite your support system into your changes, into the things that you are changing. And one of the reasons why is that during this time that you're going through this healing and that you're resetting your life, you are going to feel like you are alone. You're going to feel like nobody understands you. And it is so nice to have people that you can bounce ideas off of. It's nice to be able to go and cry on someone's shoulder. And maybe you don't cry. Maybe you just want to like bitch and complain and vent about the things that you're going through. And sometimes it's going to say, sometimes that's going to be, I don't see any changes. Because I've been there too. Like, I don't see anything changing. But you want to make sure that you have a friend or a family member or a therapist there who's going to help you see that things are changing. And that what you're doing is actually good. It's good for you. It's helping you. Right? And you want to make sure that those things are in place. So have a good support system. One of the things that I did was I did get a therapist, even though like a lot of people say like, I don't know what people think therapists are for. But I feel like they're just like, I'm paying them to talk to them about my problems. And I don't have to carry all of that mess back to my friends who probably would like to hear more happy things from me, right? So one of the things that I did was after my marriage started to fall apart and my ex-husband left, I went ahead and got a therapist because I was angry. I was so very angry. And I didn't know what to do. And I was just like, I need somebody to talk about this with because it wasn't that talking with my friends wasn't helping, but I also needed to make sure that I needed to talk to a non-biased party, like who wasn't going to think that I was crazy, but also was going to tell me whether or not I was being ridiculous. Now, mind you, my friends can do that. But sometimes like I feel like I talk back to my friends. Like maybe I won't talk back to a therapist, right? So you want to make sure that you have a support system and make sure you involve them in the changes that you're making in whatever way that you can. I technically had a couple of people start the 90-day non-drinking challenge with me. But there wasn't like much accountability. I don't think there was really a lot of accountability that went into that. It was kind of just like, all right, guys, I'm not drinking for 90 days. They were like, oh yeah, I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you. And then like that was it. They either did or they didn't succeed. Like it was one of those things. But still, bring your support system into your changes. So if you're trying to eat healthier, bring more healthy snacks into the house. Have, the people who live with you pick a healthy snack that they like, and always keep that in the house for them to have. And things like that, right? So your support system. Number 4. This one was really important, and we haven't really talked about this during this podcast, but I'm going to make sure that within the next few podcast episodes or so, I'm going to do an episode about boundaries because I think that it's super important. So number 4, don't let people disrespect your space and your boundaries. what you do want to do is check your boundaries often and adjust accordingly. Now, what I don't mean is that somebody tells you that they don't like your boundary and that you have to change it, so then you change it for them. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is when I started to go through what I call my soul death, which happened at the end of March, where I didn't have any emotions, one of the things that I did was I decided to basically put myself up in a fort, and this fort was my boundaries. And basically, I had zero tolerance. And these boundaries were like literally unmovable. All right. Like no matter how many um things people threw at these walls, I was like, no, I'm not budging. I'm not budging. I don't care. I'm not budging. And it was because of how strongly I felt. I was trying to gain more trust in myself and my decision making. And in order to do that, I had to reevaluate my boundaries because for so long I had let people run over them, right? And because of that, I was like, I need to really rethink what's important to me and what boundaries I'm going to hold with these people. And I have to tell you, like, that was probably, even though I had like zero tolerance for like all the people, it was one of those things that was really good for me to realize what was important to me and what wasn't. And what I got to do was I got to rebuild my boundaries. And what this does is rebuilding your boundaries really lets you know like what it is that you want and how you want to be treated. Because trust and believe, after you've been treated a certain way for so long, depending on the situation, yes, that can become ingrained and you might think that that's all you deserve and all of that. But when I literally when I threw up those walls and I didn't let anything in, that was one of the first times that I felt truly alone, but it was also one of the times that I felt most safe. And in reality, that was just because I knew that what I wanted and how I was being treated wasn't happening. And I needed to learn how to let people know what those boundaries are and what would happen if I felt like my boundaries were not being respected after I've talked to you about them. So I have an interesting example about this. So my ex-husband used to call me Oreo. And the reason he did this was because I am African American, and I speak properly. And there is this weird thing about people and Black people and speaking proper that just throws people into a fucking tizzy. I don't know. But I will tell you that for many, 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 many years, not just with my ex-husband, but for many years, I have been made fun of for speaking properly. And in real life, I don't see the issue. I don't see the issue. Like my grandmere is very big on the English language and wanted us to use it properly. So anytime we said something wrong, she corrected us. Anytime it didn't sound like English, she corrected us. So yes, I speak properly, but that doesn't give him the right to call me an Oreo. So I actually had to have a sit down with him about this because I had to tell him like that hurts my feelings. Like this is something that I mean, I don't think I've ever really been insecure about it, but it's something that really bothers me because you're somebody who's supposed to love me, yet you're making fun of the way that I talk, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, what is the point? And I'm sure there are some people who are like, oh, well, he was just joking, or, you can't take a joke, da 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 da. I was like, no, no, no. I can take a joke. But there is a difference between taking a joke and something actually hurting your feelings. Like if somebody says something and it's actually funny and you're like, oh yeah, like I can totally laugh it off, and cool. But I would not allow anybody to come up to me and call me an Oreo because of the way that I talk. And I will let them know that. I'll give you another example. I have an issue with being called queen. And I mean in the sense of, men saying, hello, queen. How are you doing, queen? All of this stuff. I honestly cannot stand it. From my perspective, it's condescending and I don't like it. So I tell people not to call me that. Like when I do intros in groups, depending on the group, if I meet somebody for the first time, for them to, on a dating app or something like that, that is literally in my bio. Come and be correct. I do not, I have a name. Do not call me queen. I remember one time this is a few years ago, I was talking to this guy. And I don't think I had put it in my bio at this time, but he had slid in my DMs and was like, hello, queen, how are you doing today? And I was like, I'm good, but I'd like to ask you not to call me queen. I don't like it. And he was like, oh, you just uppity. And I was like, how is me saying I don't like that, don't do it, being uppity? It's absolutely ridiculous. But that is a boundary. And as I was learning my boundaries and as I was understanding, how I wanted to move through life, what it is that I wanted, things like that, my wall started to come down and not be as zero tolerance, right? I give people a chance. Like I tell people like, hey, that's boundary. And the funny thing is when I later talk about boundaries, I talk about how when it comes to boundaries, you're really controlling your actions when something happens. So it's not like a consequence. Like if somebody overruns your boundaries, like there's a consequence, right? It really is making sure that you know what you're going to do after you have talked about your boundaries and you have set that boundary and you've told this person about that boundary, what happens afterwards if they do it again? And it has nothing to do with their actions. It has everything to do with your actions. What do you do? I've had situations where I have removed myself because somebody went over a boundary. Okay. I've had times where I have walked out of a room because somebody disrespected my boundaries. So you want to make sure that you have the space and the time to understand what your boundaries are, what you're going to do when those boundaries are disrespected, and how you're going to handle that conversation. I feel like that's super important, especially when you start doing a life reset. Like that's super important. Understand your boundaries and what those are. All right. Last but not least on our life reset tips, don't procrastinate on yourself. And I want you to evaluate your life often. Now, whether that's once a month, whether that's once every 3 months, doesn't matter how often, but I want you to find time to evaluate your life often. Because what I don't want you to do is to continue to be stagnant or feel unfulfilled in your life. And the more that you evaluate your life, the more that you can see the things that you want to change. And when you can see those changes, you can actually start doing them instead of sitting back. When you actually evaluate your life often, you actually get to see the changes that you've made. I would not be able to sit here and give you guys the self-care series from last year if I had not taken notes on the things that actually had changed in my life. And I know that a lot of times we don't do that, and a lot of times we don't sit back and reflect or anything like that. Like I have it in my brain to like go back and read my journals from last year. My journal entries from last year. BT dubs, that's like 4 journals. All right. And the reason I want to do that is so that I can see exactly what things I have changed. And if there are anything else within that realm I need to change as well. So I think of it this way, and I'm going to tell you guys a story. So a few years ago, I went to a gas station and I went and I was pumping gas. And while I was standing there, this car comes up and the car doesn't look old. Um, and I think it might have been a truck, but it comes into the gas station and they get their stuff ready and they get ready to pump the gas. And what ends up happening is as they start putting gas into the gas tank, it's just like, regular putting gas into the gas tank. And then what starts happening is you start to see the gasoline leak out of the gas tank all over the ground. It's not coming from the nozzle. It's literally coming from the car. And all I'm seeing is I'm literally sitting here and I'm watching this person. And I don't know if this person recognizes that there's oil or that there's gasoline leaking out of their vehicle in real time, or if they're just ignoring it. I don't know. I can hear it from where I'm sitting. I was not even that close to them, but I could hear it from where I was sitting, where I was standing. And I just could not understand why this person kept pumping gas. And then for the life of me, I could not even like fathom the words. I could not even put the words together to tell this person, like, hey, stop pumping gas in your car, right? Because you have a hole in your tank. When you procrastinate, you're not fixing the hole in your tank. When you procrastinate, you're not seeing the hole in your tank. You don't even know that it exists. And that is super important that you at least find the hole, because at least at that time, you can do something about it. You find it, you can fix it. Right? That person, I have no idea what happened after that. I have no idea what happened after that. But my first thing would be, okay, I have to go to a repair shop because gasoline is leaking out of my gas tank. Go to the repair shop. They find out what's wrong with it. Awesome. Great. Now we fix it so that my car can run better. Right? And it's the same thing with yourself. When you start to evaluate your life and you start evaluating the things that you want to do and your goals and your dreams and just everyday things, when you start doing that more often, you start to see the chinks, you start to see the cracks. And you can go, okay, I'm going to fix this piece. I started to see the cracks in myself. I was angry. I literally was not all the time nice to be around. When I drank, I got mad. I was covering up every single emotion that I had just so that I didn't have to deal with them. And I would not have known what those were if I had not decided to stop drinking. And again, I only stopped drinking because I seen it in a freaking meme. Because it was like, oh, stop drinking for 90 days and see if you need it. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Alcohol doesn't have control over me. I stopped procrastinating on myself. Like I stopped thinking that everything in my life was better than what it was. And I stopped drinking and I started to really see what it was that I was missing. I started to open my eyes. I started to become more clear. And it's the same thing. Evaluate your life often. See what it is that you have in your life right now. See what it is that you want to have in your life. Do you want to do more traveling? Do you want to save more money? Do you want to pay off debt? Do you want to get a new job? Do you want to, go skiing? Like, what are the things in your life that you are procrastinating about? Make a list and start finding ways to start putting those things into your life. Because what you're going to start doing is making yourself or having a more fulfilled life. You're going to be have a more happy life. Like, you're going to have a more joyful life. You're going to have a life that you actually enjoy waking up to every day. And I can honestly say that a lot of people do not have that. And I want to say that when I first started this healing journey, I didn't think that that was going to be something that I would be able to say. That I literally wake up every day and I'm just like, yes, the life that I've created. And it's because I chose to evaluate my life and change one thing. And that one thing snowballed into a lot of other things. And I have to tell you, along the way, I've made those, decisions to do something real quick and real fast, something that was not timely for me, that was not divine under my universe. It was not something that was mine. I moved that process quick, and I tell you, I almost lost everything. And I say everything very loosely. I'll say everything within that little bubble. I almost lost everything within that bubble. And slowly over the last, almost 7 months, 8 months, at this point, like, I'm just now gaining that back from making that decision. And it was because I could feel that change was coming and that change was there. And I didn't know what it was, but I just wanted to move so quickly, and I did. And I almost messed up. But what I will tell you is that even if you take these tips and you accidentally do the don't things, you can always try again tomorrow. It's not the end all be all. And I want you to remember that. At no point in time, if you mess up, should you stop going. So I hope that these tips have helped you in some way, shape, or form. And if you can, leave a review and let me know if some of these things resonate with you. Because they all resonate with me, clearly, because I'm talking to you guys about it. So before I go, let's go ahead and talk about my Trinity. Something that we are going to brag about. So if you didn't know, I started to do podcast inspired paintings. And over the last couple of weeks, I have to admit that I am behind on podcast inspired paintings. Okay. However, one of the things is I partnered with a group to actually get my paintings up on their website, which is amazing, by the way. But that's not the brag. The brag is that now I am considered an artist, a paid artist. I'm sorry, my brain went whoop, whoop for a little bit. because I was like, how do I say this? I'm now officially a paid artist. People are buying my art. And I think that's great. That is so awesome. Like I'm excited because the only art I feel like I give away a lot of my art. Like I have friends and family who have art of mine. And then of course I have art all over my house. Some that I've done, some that other people have done. Most of it is stuff that I've done. So it's nice to see that people actually want something that I've created. So I will be starting back up on the painting front. But right now I am kind of just like, hanging out, chilling. But yes, I will be getting back to doing some paintings that go with my podcast. So I wanted to brag about that. I am now a paid artist. Um, I am grateful for the people in my life who support me, no questions asked. And I think it's funny because I feel like every time we talk, there's like, yeah, I'm grateful for my support system. I'm grateful. The reason why I talk about my support system is because they are so fucking dope. They're so dope. And I really just need to shout that from the rooftops. Like, I am grateful for my team. I am grateful for the people that I come in contact with and I tell them what I do, and they're like, oh my God, how can I support you? I'm so grateful for that. And I'm not going to stop saying that. So if every week I come on here and I talk about my support system, I'm going to come on here and talk about my support system. Period. Okay. Okay. Glad that we have that. Something I desire. At this moment, I really desire peace. And what I mean by that is there has been, I feel like a lot of my life in general has been a constant whirlwind of activity. And when it comes down to it, I really just want to be like the middle of a lake where there is nothing going on. There's no one there to tell me I can't. It's really just sereneness. And I want that. I want that peace of mind that every day that I wake up, I'm doing something that I love and that I have people in my circle who care about me and that I can go and do whatever I want. And it will be just as fulfilling as it was the first time I did it. So I desire peace. And the cool thing is, I feel like I am on my way. I really do. And I think that's what's so important and so lovely about life in general is that you have the ability to create the peace that you want. You have the ability to create the joy and the happiness that you want. All you have to do is do it. All you have to do is go after it. And that's so important, so unique. And in all honesty, I wish that on everybody. I wish everybody to be able to live their most peaceful, serene, happy, joyful life that they can. I'm so excited that you guys came and joined me today. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast if it resonated with you in any way. If you feel like somebody can definitely hear this podcast, go ahead and send it to them. If you don't know, my podcast is currently on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So all you have to do is type in Dear Tay, you got this, and you will find me. I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you for listening to Dear Tay, You Got This. If you liked this podcast episode and found it helpful, please subscribe today and share this episode with a friend. If you have any questions, comments, wins, or would like to be featured on this podcast, please call or text 330-552-7234 or email info@desirablephoenix.com. See you next week.